హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, మనం బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ డిగ్రీ హిస్టరీ సెమిస్టర్ 3 పార్ట్ 1లో సెక్షన్ ఏ క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ మొత్తం చూసాం కదా. ఈరోజు పార్ట్ 2లో సెక్షన్ బి క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ చూద్దాం రండి. సెక్షన్ బి ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్, డిస్క్రైబ్ ద ఫ్యాక్టర్స్ దట్ లెడ్ టు ద ఫాల్ ఆఫ్ హుమాయూన్. ఆన్సర్, ఫస్ట్ అసెషన్. Humayun 1530 to 1540 AD and 1555 to 1556 AD. Humayun succeeded to the Mughal throne in 1530 AD. He was 23 years old at the time of his accession. Second, difficulties of Humayun. Soon after accession, Humayun faced a number of difficulties. His difficulties were: A. His father Babur did not consolidate the empire, therefore the empire was not closely knit. B. The Afghans rose in revolts against him under Muhammad Lodi and Sher Khan. C. Bahadur Shah became independent in Gujarat. D. In the northwest, Humayun's brother Kamaran proved treacherous and occupied Punjab. His other brother coveted the Mughal throne. F. Humayun's army was heterogeneous and to its loyalty to the emperor was doubtful. G. The Mughal nobles were jealous of his power. 3. Wars of Humayun. Humayun struggled hard to overcome his difficulties. He led an army against the Afghans. He besieged the fort of Chonar. Sher Khan submitted to him. Humayun did not subdue him completely. This gave time to Sher Khan to strengthen his position. In 1535, Humayun defeated Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. Bahadur Shah became a fugitive for some time. Gujarat and Malwa were occupied in the meanwhile. Humayun faced another danger in Bihar. Therefore, he left Gujarat to attack Sher Khan. On the departure of Humayun, Bahadur Shah quickly recovered Gujarat and Malwa. In 1537, Humayun attacked Sher Khan, but he spent a long time in taking Chunar. Sher Khan captured Bengal. Humayun captured Gaur and spent 3 months in idle pleasure. Humayun fought with Sher Khan at Chausa in 1539 and suffered heavy losses. Next year, Humayun against marches against Sher Khan. He was decisively defeated near Kannauj. He fled from India and took refuge in Persia till 1555. Restoration. After the death of Sher Khan, Humayun moved to India. He defeated Sikandar Sur, the ruler of Sirdan. He occupied Delhi and Agra in 1555. He appointed his son Akbar as governor of Punjab with Bairam Khan as his guardian. He did not enjoy for long the throne he had recovered. He hardly ruled for 7 months. Causes of his failure. Humayun failed due to several factors. He was known for undue kindness and generosity. He should not have allotted a part of his father's kingdom to his brother, who had turned hostile towards him. He defeated Bahadur Shah of Gujarat and Sher Khan of Bihar, but he did not subdued them completely. He gave them time to recover the lost territories. Humayun gave himself to a life of sensuality, indolence and ease. He wasted his time in rivalry after success in a battle. He lacked in military strategy and resourcefulness. He failed to estimate the strength of his enemy. Next question, explain briefly the Deccan policy of Aurangzeb. Answer, the Deccan policy of the Mughals reached its high water mark during the time of Aurangzeb. The chief causes that promoted Aurangzeb to wage vigorous Deccan campaigns were his Orthodox Sunni imperialism, the economic properties of Deccan, the growing power of Shivaji and his alliance with the sultans of Bijapur and Golconda, and so he set out to Deccan in 1682 AD and spent the last 26 years of his life in Deccan. So he set out to Deccan in 1682 AD. He conquest of Bijapur and Golconda. Bijapur. At first, Aurangzeb sent his son Azam to conquer Bijapur. When the latter failed to do it, he himself went there in person. After a siege of more than a year, he started it and made to surrender in 1686. Sikandar Shah, the ruler of Bijapur, was pensioned off. Thus, Aurangzeb annexed Bijapur to the Mughal Empire. Golconda. Aurangzeb besieged Golconda in 1687. Abdul Hassan, the king of Golconda, fought like a hero and inflicted heavy losses on the Mughal army. The fort was gallantly defended. Aurangzeb lost all hopes of success. He treacherously bridled to the out of the fort and entered it. The general Abdul Razak was taken a prisoner and Abdul Hassan was pensioned off. Thus, Golconda was annexed to the Mughal Empire. Third, southern forts. After the annexation of Golconda, Aurangzeb occupied the chief forts of Adoni, Kurnool, Bengaluru, Belgaum, and Kanchi. Thus, by 1689, he became the master of the whole of South India. War with the Marathas. It was only the Maratha state that stood in Aurangzeb's way of becoming the sole master of the whole of India. So he turned his attention to the Marathas. He spent about 20 years in warfare to break their power, but he could not do it due to the guerrilla tactics adopted by the Marathas. After Shivaji's death, his son Sambhaji fought with the Mughals with some success, but he was captured by the Mughals and put to death. It appeared that Aurangzeb would succeed in his mission, but it proved to be the beginning of his downfall. Wars with Terabai. Rajaram, the younger brother of Sambhaji, gave a lot of trouble to the Mughals, and when he died, his wife Terabai launched a national struggle against the Mughals till the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. AD. After his death, Deccan slipped out of the Mughals' control. Results through the invention of Deccan. Through the invention of Deccan, Aurangzeb risked the loss of Hindustan. Thus, by 1689, he gained all, but in reality, he lost all. The wars in Deccan made the government bankrupt. The occupation of Bijapur and Golconda removed the check on the expansion of the Maratha power. Aurangzeb's long absence from the capital had a demoralizing effect on the Mughal court. In the north, the Sikhs, the Bandals, and the Jats became independent. As said by V.A. Smith, Deccan proved to be the grave of not only his body but also of his empire. Write a note on Mughal central administration. Answer. Akbar was the chief architect of the Mughal administrative system. He not only took several institutions from Sher Shah's administration, reformed and perfected them, but also adopted many Persian and Arabic system which necessary changes to quite J.N. Sarkar. It was the Perso-Arabic system in an Indian setting, through some alterations were made here and there by his successors, but in general his administrative system remained intact till its eclipse. Absolute monarchy, centralized government, divine origin of kingship, and benevolent distribution were some of the silent features of the Mughal polity. Sources: the main sources for the Mughal polity were N.I. Akbar office records, royal proclamation, writing of Abdul Fazl and other European travelers, etc. Central government empires. The empire was a supreme head of the state. All the powers were vested in him. He was the supreme commander of the armed force and also the head of the executive, legislature, and judiciary. He was regarded as the shadow of God upon the earth. Except Akbar, almost all the Mughal rulers administered the country according to ulema through absolute. The king was not a hard-hearted tyrant. The ideas of kingship was best illustrated by tyranny is unlawful in everyone, especially in a sovereign who is the guardian of the world. Generally, the king had the following routine of work. He listened the complaints of the people in morning, held durbar in the afternoon, or met his ministers in the evening. Diwani as we ministers. The emperor was assisted by a council of ministers in his daily administration. They were appointed by him and hold office at his will. The chief among them were a Wakil Prime Minister, second Wazir or Diwan, Minister for Finance, three Mir Bakshi war minister and paymaster general, 4 Mir Samani in charge of imperial household and stores and supplies for the army, 5 Muhtazib censor of public morals, 6 Chief Sada minister for charities and endowments, 7 Chief Qazi minister for law and justice, etc. These ministers, as said by Smith, were usually his emperor's pupils rather than his teachers. In fact, they were his glorified secretaries. Besides, they were assisted by a number of officials, Daroga, Dak, Chowki, etc. See judicial administration. The Mughals were the lower of judges. Akbar declared, if I were guilty of an unjust act, I would, in judgment against myself. Jahangir went a step forward to remind judges by setting up a chain of justice. Similarly, the other Mughals were men of equality and fair play. According to Dr. A.N. Srivastav, the Mughal justice system According to Dr. A. L. Srivastav, the Mughal justice system was probably the weakest area of administration. It did not conceive of a guarded hierarchy of controlled by department of central government. It did not have one law code for all the people and no supreme court of judicial for the interpretation of the law. On through studies, scholars like S.R. Sharma rejected the opinion of Srivastava and held that the relation between the various courts were not clearly defined. However, there were different types of courts at different levels. The emperor was the founder and head of the justice. His court was the highest court of appeal in the country. Capital punishment could be given only by the king. Below him was the chief qazi, the highest judicial officer in the country. At provincial level, the su- uh, subadars held court and administrator judges. Qazis were appointed for towns and districts to try both the civil and criminal cases. The disputes in village were decided by village panchayats through was no written law. Cases were decided in accordance with Quranic law. Aurangzeb caused the preparation of digest of Muslim law known as Fatwa al-Alamgiri. Punishment were severe. Fine, multiplication, and whipping were the common punishment. In spite of its defects, the Mughal justice system was speedy, simple, and cheap. Conclusion: in general, the Mughal administration was humane and benevolent. To conclude, in the words of Dr. Ishwari Prasad, administrative efficiency reached its high water mark for the first time under Muhammadan rule. The standing army, in addition, the Mansabdari system, the Mughals maintained a standing army of 25 to 50,000, consisting of which infantry, artillery, cavalry, infantry, and navy. Akbar realized the need of maintaining navy to fight the European, but his successors neglected it. Next question. Write about social and literacy condition in Mughal period. Answer. The chief sources of information to know about the social and economic condition of the Mughal period were the writings of Abdul Fazl, Abdul Hamid, Lahiri, etc., and the accounts of the Europeans who visit India during the Mughal period. The contribution of the Mughals to the cultural development was unique. Let us consider the social and literary condition during the Mughal period. One, social conditions. Social classes. The Mughal society was feudal in structure. The noble led a life of comfort and luxury. The middle class merchant led a simple and temperate life. The lower classes suffered from poverty, hunger, and disease. Low wages, official oppression, and famines caused suffering to them. We Hindu Muslims understanding. The Hindu were a majority. They were divided into castes. The Muslims were divided into Sunni, Shias, Bahras, and Khojas. There were occasions where Hindus and Muslims worked together, but this Hindu-Muslim adjustment was distributed in the period of Aurangzeb and after. See, social customs. Both the Hindus and Muslims had been religious and sentimental. The Hindus visited tombs of Muslim saints. Animal and human sacrifices, sati, children marriage, brief in astronomy, sorcery, and witchcraft were common among the Hindus. Polygamy was common for Muslims. Literacy conditions. Babur, the founder of Mughal Empire, was an eminent poet in Turki and Persian. He was the author of Diwan-i-Babur and Baburnama. Humayun was a lover of poetry and a student of mathematics, astronomy, and astrology. Akbar. Akbar could neither read nor write, but he was well informed in a number of subjects. He patronized literature and art during Abbas reign. Important history were composed. Abdul Fazl wrote an Akbari and Akbarnama. Nizamuddin Ahmad wrote Tabakat-i-Akbari. Badoni was the author of Tariq-i-Badoni. Gulbadan Begum, Bahur's daughter, wrote Humayunama. Some great Sanskrit works were translated into Persian. The Ramayana and Mahabharata were translated by Badoni. The Atharvana Veda was translated by Ibrahim Sirdidi. The arithmetical work, the Lilavati, was translated by Faizi. The Hindu poet of Akbar period were Ganga Kavi, Tensen, who was also a great musician, Abdul Rahman Mansingh, Bhagavan Das, and Birbal. The greatest Hindu poet was Tulsidas. Siddhas, the author of Ramacharita Other great poets were Sardas, the author of Sarsagar, and Jayasi, the author of Padmavati. See, Jahangir. Jahangir wrote his autobiography called Tuzuk-i-Jahangir. Several historical works were written during his period. Shah Jahan period was the golden age in literature. Panditaraja Jagannatha, a great Sanskrit poet, wrote Rasagangadhara and Ganga Lahari. Dara Sukon, the eldest son of Shah Jahan, wrote Mingling of Two Oceans. This is a comparative study of Islam and Hinduism. He translated 52 Upanishads into Persian. Aurangzeb was a great scholar in Arabic and Persian. He had knowledge of Turki and Hindi. He was a specialist in technology and jurisprudence, but he was a Persian who hated poetry, music, and other fine art. Thus, the Mughal age was really an epoch making in the realm of culture. Question. Discuss the administrative system of Shivaji. Answer. Introduction. Shivaji was an enlightened ruler. He did everything for the promotion of the material and moral interest of his subjects. He adopted the principles of equality, justice, and tolerance while introducing his administrative system. Let us now consider his administrative system. Shivaji established an efficient and paternal government. The territories were divided into two parts. Swarajya, it was directly under his rule. Moghalya, it was the surrounding territory. Shivaji collected Chhat and Sardeshmukhi from his territory. B. Futures of his administration. First, central government. The king was the head of the state. He had 8 officers of state called Ashtapradhan, Council of Ministers. These 8 ministers were Peshwa, Amatya, Sumanta, Senapati, Nyayadish, Sachiv, Pandit Rao, Mantri. The minister assisted the king. They were paid by the king. They had no hereditary rights. They were assisted by officials and provincial government. The kingdom of Shivaji was divided into 4 provinces. The provinces were under governors. The governor was called Mamaltdar. The governor was assisted by 8 officers. The villages were under the rule of Patel or Mukhya or Kulkarni. There were no regular courts of justice. Village cases were decided by panchayats. 3. Revenue administration. The land revenue was fixed at 2/5 of the gross produce. The tax can be paid either in cash or kind. Land was surveyed and assignment was fixed. Loans were granted to peasants during famines. B. The other sources of revenue were Chauth and Sardeshmukhi. The tax Chauth was 1/4 of the ascent revenue of the district. It was collected on those territories which wanted to be free from the plundering raids of the Marathas. Sardeshmukhi was another tax paid to the Marathas in honor of Shivaji. It was 1/10 of the revenue of the district. Military administration. Shivaji established a very efficient army system. His standard army consisted of infantry and cavalry. Senapati, the head of the army, was a member of Ashtapradhanas. Shivaji developed a naval fleet also. He was the first Indian ruler who thought of the necessity of navy. The soldiers were paid in cash. Jagir system was not in force. The garrison forts were the main defense of the kingdom. Due importance was given to military discipline. 5th, judicial administration. His judicial system of administration was of primitive nature without any regular hereditary of courts in the state. In the villages, the panchayats and patel decided the case. Trial by ordeal was in Wagyu. The chief of judges of the highest court of appeal in the state was Nyayadisha. 6. Religious policy. The keynote of Shivaji's religious policy was toleration towards other religions. He treated both the Hindus and Muslims equally. He gave liberal donation not only to temples but also to mosques. In this connection, we should note that even Kafi Khan, the staunch critic of Shivaji, paid a glowing tribute to the liberalism of Shivaji. Question. Explain the role of Balaji Vishwanand to strengthen the Maratha power. Answer. First, Balaji Vishwanand was the first of the great Peshwas. His aim was to unite the Marathas. He raised a big army and suppressed many local chieftains. He won over Kanauji to the side of Sahu. This was his splendid achievement. Character. He was called a peerless servant. He was also called a second founder of the Maratha Empire. He introduced many reforms and organized the Maratha state. Third, relation with the Mughals. Balaji conceived a plan of freeing the whole country from the Muslim rule. The Mughal viceroy in the Deccan, Hussain Ali, concluded a treaty with the Peshwa in 1714. The treaty was a landmark in the history of the Marathas. The Marathas were allowed to collect Chauth and Sardeshmukhi in the six Mughal subas of the Deccan. The Peshwa visited Delhi. While he was in Delhi, Sambhuji of Kolhapur invaded the kingdom of Satara, but he was defeated in the battle near Vadgan in 1719. Fourth, Maratha Confederacy. Balaji Vishwanand created the Maratha Confederacy. He gave the noble common financial interest in the empire and thereby organized them into a confederacy. The loyalty of the nobles to the family of Shivaji was strengthened. Fifth, estimate Balaji was known for his diplomacy and statesmanship. He restored order in the Maratha Empire and paved the way for Maratha imperialism. Therefore, he was called the second founder of the Maratha Empire. He created a Hindu empire on the run of the Muslim power, and the Peshwaship became a hereditary. Next question. Give an account of the establishment of the British East India Company and its early settlement in India. Answer. The British were steady in establishing their settlement in India. Ultimately, they became the ruler of India. They selected places of strategic importance as their settlement. When early British visitors in India, several individuals from England visit India. Even before 1600 AD, Thomas Stevens was the first Englishman to come to India. He worked as a rector in Salsette. In 1583, three Englishmen came to India. They were Ralph Fitch, James Newberry, and William Leeds. Their writing described the wealth of India. Incentives. In 1587, a Portuguese ship was captured by Francis Drake, the famous British admiral. The victory of England over the Spanish Armada in 1588 encouraged the English to establish trading centers in India. In 1599, the Dutch raised the Prince of Pepper. The British wanted to establish direct trading contact with India. The East India Company. The English East India Company was started in 1600 by a charter issued by Queen Elizabeth of England. It was purely a private company. In the beginning, the English were interested in the Spice Island. After the Ambedkar massacre of 1623, they turned their attention to India for British settlement in India. Surat. The earliest settlement of the company were on the west coast of India. In 1612, Captain Hawkins visited the court of Jahangir in Mughal Empire. He failed to get any favor due to the influence of the Portuguese. In 1615, Sir Thomas Roe came to Jahangir's court. He secured permission to have a settlement at Surat. From there, the British captured arms from the Portuguese. Masilipatam. The British built a factory at Masilipatam. They obtained permission from the Nawab of Golconda, but they could not proceed further due to the rivalry of the Dotan. Madras Francis Day, a member of the Masilipatam factor, selected the site at Madras. It was purchased from the Raja of Chandragiri. Fort St. George was built here. Madras became a presidency in 1652. The Calcutta. First, the British acquired Balasore and Hariharapur. A factory was set up in Hooghly in 1651. The present place of Calcutta was given to the English as a present by Aurangzeb. In 1687, John Carrack led the foundation constructive a city. Fort William was built here. Falta and Qasim Bazar and the neighboring villages of Calcutta also became British settlement. Bombay, the island which today is Bombay, was acquiring in 1667 from Charles II, the King of England. He received it as a part of the dowry when he married a Portuguese princess. Soon it became a great center of British trade. It became a presidency. The British had several other trading settlements in other parts of India. They were Kudalur and Vishakhapatnam. Fort S.G. David was built at Kudalur. Next question. Give an account of the administrative changes in civil services, police and army. Answer. The British India administration was based on three basic services like civil service, army and the police. There are two reasons behind it. The first aim of British India administration was the maintenance of law and order and the preservation of British rule. British merchants and manufacturers could not hope to sell their goods in every corner of India without law and order. Moreover, British could not hope to win the affections of Indian people. Therefore, the British relied on superior force rather than the public support for the maintenance of their Indian control. Civil services. The British Indian civil services had its origin to the period of Lord Cornwallis. The private trade carried on by the company official was abolished by him. Acceptance of present was prohibited. Consequently, Cornwallis made them into separate service with high salaries. As per the feelings of Cornwallis, the British and European were fit to rule India. Lord Wellesley, for the training of young civil servants, established a college in Calcutta in 18 AD, but in 1806 for the training of civil servants, another college was established by the directors of. It was called as an East Indian College at Heidelberg in England. Till 1858, this college continued to function, and it was made inevitable that those aspiring for the job in India should attend this college. The 1853 Character Act threw open the convented civil service through competitive exams. It is notable thing Cornwallis promoted reforms included all Indians from the higher post in the company service. For the subordinate posts, only India were taken in large number. Army. From its inception, the British East India Company was greatly in need of an army to protect its trading countries from its rivals. During the process of expansion, all the soldiers were drawn from India, whereas the high-ranking officials were imported from England. Enabled by the subsidiary alliance system, the British disbanded the native armies and introduced army on western lines throughout the country. British armies were posted on key places. Subsequently, the company led a vigilance over the nature states and to protect their trade too. A number of instances were there where the Indian spies were loyal to the British higher authorities. They even helped them to fight against even Indian kingdoms. The police, the company administrator also gave prime importance to the police setup to like that of civil service. For example, to maintain law and order, Cornwallis created police force. He carved out thanas and posted darogas in their place. To head the police setup at district level, the district superintendent were appointed. Europeans alone were taken into the highly paid superior posts to which the Indians were included. The official and the company in India found that the maintenance of law and order in the country was important as well as expensive. Lord Hastings meanwhile was engaged in suppressing the Pindaris. The bands of robbers known as thugs were put down in central India were the devoted zeal of Lord William Bentinck, etc. The thugs were taken under the company to the police force, reorganized largely under the administration of the crown. Next question. Describe the tribal revolt prior to 1857 revolt. Answer. A large number of tribals were living in forests and hill tracts scattered throughout India. By nature, the tribals were hard-working, a freedom-loving and peace-loving. They were illiterate. Their habits and customs differ from the rest of the people. They had distinct culture. The forest wealth was the main source of living and it was enjoyed by the entire tribe jointly. Further, they were brave and dauntless. Wherever there was a threat to their freedom, culture, and rights, they revolted against the British with arms. The Khasi Revolt. The Khasi were the first revolt against the British policy of imperialism. The tribe was inhabited between Jaintia and Garo Hills. It was put to serve laws with acquisition of Diwani in Bengal by the British. The real trouble started when the British, after the First Burmese War, decided to construct a road linking Sylhet with Burma through Khasi tribal areas. The proposed road affected the interest of the Khasi, hence all the tribal chiefs of Khasi revolted under the leadership of Tiruk Singh. On the May 5, 1826, they killed the British men and forced the Bengalis involved in road construction to leave the place. The British imposed economic blockade in the area and burned several tribal villages. The tribal resorted to guerrilla warfare and the war continued for 4 years. Unable to bear the atrocities of the British, the tribal chief Tiruk Singh surrendered in 1833. Through the revolt was suppressed, it brought awakening among the people. Second, the Santal revolt. Of all the tribal revolts, the most prominent was the revolt of Santals. Santals were inhabited in Bhagalpur, Rajmahal region of Bihar and Bengal. They were exploited by Dikus, money leaders, British. Ramosi Uprising 1822 to 1829. The Ramosi Uprising were the outcome of the British policy of annexation and deposition of the popular rules. Ramosis belonged to Satara region of Maharashtra. They were of war community. They were once served in the law ranks of police in Maratha and Peshwa rule. After the final defeat of Peshwa is 1818 and the annexation of the Maratha region by the British results the loss of the meanwhile of livelihood of Ranosi Chittu Singh of Satara in 1822 gathered the Ramosis against the heavy taxation and plundered the neighboring region of Satara. The Ramosi around the Pune under the leadership of Umji and his supported Bapu Trimbak Sawant revolted in 1826. They continued for 3 years to harass British and finally the British followed a pacifist policy conducting the Ramosi grants, granting lands and requiting them as hill police. For Cols revolt, Cols were tribal of Chatta Nagpur Plateau region, part of Bengal Presidency. Before the British rule, they were independent. They feared that British would threaten their independence, so to resist them, Cols rose in 1831 under the leadership of Buddha Bhagat, Jao Bhagat, and Madasa Mahato rose in rebellion. The explosion and oppression faced by the local in the hands of other non-tribals was the main reason behind it. They felt that the local tribes were seen inferior and found that their territories were encroached by zamindars and other British agents and their independence was threatened. The Coles also revolted against British government, merchant and money lenders. There are some other reasons also for the Coles revolts. King of Bourbon in 1822 accepted to pay taxes to the British government, but the Coles refused the same and revolts. British stood on behalf of the king and sent troops to suppress the revolt. The rebels burned the houses and killed the enemies, mainly outers. The rebellions continued for 2 years. British used the modern arms and brutally killed thousands of men, women and children and suppressed the rebellion. Question: trace the main events of revolt of 1857. Answer: main events of the revolt of 1857. The 1857 revolution was described as the War of Indian Independence. It was the outcome of a number of political, social and economic causes. Let us consider the main events of the revolt of 1857. A. Barakpur and Meerut. The revolt started on 29th March 1857. Mangal Pandey, a young sepoy of Barakpur, fired a bullet at his English adjutant. In April, trouble started at Marat. The sepoys were successful in gaining his upper hand over the British and they marched to Delhi. Delhi, the Sepoy entered Delhi on 11th May 1857. They announced the restoration of the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah too. He was placed on the imperial throne. The British made effort to recover Delhi. Nicholas delivered a vigorous assault on the Marathis. The Kashmir Gate was blown up. Finally, the city and the place were captured. Bahadur Shah was condemned to exile. He was sent to Rangoon, where he died in 1862. The Punjab, when the News of Meerut and Delhi reached Lahore. The authority in the Punjab decided to disarm the force. Several regiments were disarmed. D. Kanpur Naha Sahib was the leader of the revolt at Kanpur. He was the adopted son of Pashwa Baji Rao II. He proclaimed himself as Peshwa. The British forces surrounded Nana assured them safe passage to Allahabad, but when the British garrison was leaving the place in boats, the soldiers of Nana opened fire on the British. Most of them were killed. Others who were confined in a building were put to the sword. The British force was sent to Kapur under the leadership of Havelock and Lille. Nana felt the British occupied his palace. The sepoys at Lucknow rose up in arms. The rising was easily suppressed. Oath was recovered by Sir Colin Campbell. F. Rohilkhand. The Rohillas rose in revolt in May 1857. They proclaimed Khan Bahadur Khan as victory of the emperor. Sir Colin Campbell recovered Rohilkhand.